Hey guys, welcome back to Robert's Homestead and How-Tos. In today's video, I'm going to show you the easy way to change the oil in an F350 Super Duty truck. But first, let me show you what tools you're going to need for the job. Let's take a look. So the first couple of things you're going to need obviously are the oil and oil filter. Now I don't care what kind of oil you pick if you have some kind of brand loyalty, but one thing you do want to make sure that you're getting is the correct type of oil. So you can look that up online, or if you just go to O'Reilly's or Advanced Auto Parts or wherever you get your oil, they can look that up for you just with the year and make and model of your vehicle. Now today's video, our truck uses 7 quarts of oil. What I would highly recommend to make life a little bit easier on you and a little bit cheaper is I went ahead and I bought 10 quarts. But instead of trying to measure that out or get exactly 2 quarts out of the second bottle, we're going to use a single quart jug. That way we can put a full 5-quart bottle into the truck and then use 2 of those to measure that out properly. And I'll show you that later in order to make more sense later when we put the oil in the truck. Same thing with the filter. You want to make sure that you're getting the correct filter. That can easily be looked up at the store. You're going to need a rag because you're probably going to make a mess. You can also use rubber gloves, but that's not necessary. And you're also going to need the proper size socket to remove the oil drain plug. And you'd be surprised at how difficult that information can be to find online. When I did that search a couple of years ago, I got like 5 different answers as far as what size socket for our drain plug. Basically, I had to just go out there and just find a few different ones, or find the correct one, try a few different ones to find the correct number. Ours is 16 millimeters. Next thing that you may or may not need, but it's always good to have, is an oil filter wrench. Now, I will warn you, these with the rubber strap are garbage. They are terrible. They work okay if you're trying to remove a filter on, say, a lawnmower, but with the position you have to get in when you're doing a car or a truck, these things are worthless. So this type of adjusting or automatic adjusting filter wrench is going to be much more efficient for you. Hopefully you won't even need to use that, but you most likely will. So a couple other things that you're going to need is you're going to need a drain pan to collect the old oil. Now you can use any kind of bucket that you may have around the house, or you can get these pans. I like this kind because as it catches, it's already self-contained and it's easy to transport. Like I said earlier, our truck holds 7 quarts. This pan right here says it's a 7-quart drain, or a 7-quart drain pan. But after you get that much oil in there, this thing's kind of flimsy. It's going to be pretty easy to spill. That's why I like using that one better. And a little pro tip secret here for you. If you want an easy way to store all of your funnels and old oil, get you a 5-gallon bucket. In the lid, just drill different size holes that fit. Oh, see, we always have to have a helper here. Drill different size holes to fit your different funnel sizes. That way, as you're done with your funnels, you can store those on top and they'll just slowly drip the excess oil down into the bucket, and then you can dispose of that when the time comes. All right guys, so safety first. Before we dive into this project, let's make sure that the truck or car that you're working on is turned off. The parking brake is engaged, and try to put the location of your vehicle, wherever you're going to do the work on it, on ground that's as flat as possible. If you have any type of slope, the parking brake is probably going to be just fine, but if you want a little extra safety, you can also chalk your tires. Now I'm just using a piece of chopped up wood, wheel chocks, or any other thing, just to ensure that you don't get any roll. And it's always good to have your trusty helper along the way. All right, so once you have the hood up, there's a couple of things here that I want to show you. First, you need to locate your dipstick right here, and you also need to locate where you're going to put your fresh oil, which is right here. Now, conveniently on our truck, it shows you what type of oil you need, 5W20. If yours doesn't show you that, like I said earlier in the video, a simple Google search or just going to your auto store, they'll be able to look that up easily for you. That way you don't mess up the type of oil that you're putting in your vehicle. All right, so first step is what I like to do is to take this cap off. It's going to make draining the old oil go much faster. Just place that somewhere where you're not going to knock it off. I also loosen up the dipstick. Probably not necessary, but it's just something I like to do. And that's pretty much all we need to do up here for now. All right, so now for the fun part, you got to get under the vehicle. Now, if you're in a F250, 350 truck that's going to sit high up off the ground, or if you've got a lift kit on your truck, it's going to make this job a whole lot easier. If you're working on a car or something that's lower to the ground, then you're definitely going to have to use ramps or some kind of safety measure in order to give you enough space to get under the vehicle. Thankfully, though, in our truck, I can crawl under nice and easy. So you've got to locate two things. You need to locate your filter and your drain plug. It's going to be right under, you're going to get under the vehicle, right under the driver's side of the front wheel, and you should be looking for this right here. That's your drain plug. You can see actually that one's got a little bit of oil on it, which is not good, so we need to clean that up and make sure that drain plug is tight. And your oil filter should be somewhere very close to the drain plug. On the F350, if you just look right over here, right here's the filter. Nice and easy. So here's another pro tip. Next step, this is the mistake that I made the first time I did this, is I took the drain plug out first and let that oil drain into the pan. But when you do that, it's virtually impossible to not get at least a little bit of oil on your hand. And once you get the oil on your hand, it's almost impossible to get that off unless you want to just go wash your hands forever before you move on to the next step. So if your hands are the slightest bit slippery and this filter is on there really snug, it makes the job of getting that filter off very challenging, which is also very annoying because you're already under the truck and you're trying to get this job done quickly. So what I would highly recommend, and what we're going to do today, is we are going to take the filter off first, and then we're going to drain the oil by removing the plug second. All right, so step one, we're going to remove the filter with our filter wrench. Now, as you can see, if I can do this with one hand here, the location of this makes it difficult to get to this with your wrench. So however your truck or car is situated, you may have to finagle, you may have to move this wrench around and hit it at a different angle by moving up, over, or under other parts of the vehicle. But just do whatever you have to do to get enough room in order for you to move the wrench. But also be careful. Hopefully you're doing this after the car or truck has been sitting and off all night, and so all these components are not hot. You definitely don't want to be under here touching stuff when these things are hot, because you're going to risk burning yourself. So let's see if I can get this off with one hand while I'm holding the camera. Alright, here we go. So just a little twist and it's already moving. So that is so much easier than the first time I did this with those terrible rubber strap wrenches. So you just want to keep turning that. You also want to make sure your pan is underneath this, because once you get it loose, yeah. Now we can do the rest with our hand. Once you get this loose, oil is going to start to fall into the pan. There it goes. See, oil everywhere. Just do your best to make it as less mess as possible, but just know you're going to get oil everywhere. Alright, so once the oil from the filter area has pretty much stopped, then we can move on to removing the drain plug. The positioning of this pan is crucial, because the oil is going to come out of there pretty fast at first, and so you want to angle this pan so that you catch the oil coming out, and it's not going to go straight down. It's going to come out quite a bit. So just position it in the right place and be ready to move it quickly if you misjudge the distance. So I'm going to set this camera down, and you guys are going to see if I can judge this right, or if I'm going to make a fool out of myself on YouTube. We'll see what happens. A little bit more. There it goes. There we go. All right, so as that drains out, hopefully we're getting that. As that drains out, all we have to do now is wait. And again, that's another reason we took the cap off up top. It's going to allow that to drain out much quicker. We don't have to wait around forever. So while that's draining, I'm going to go rinse off my hands. All right, so one other trick that we need to do before we reinstall the new filter is we want to take this oil, and this isn't a mandatory step, but I would highly recommend it. Take some oil and try not to make a mess like I just did, but you want to go ahead and pre-fill that filter with a little bit of oil, just like that, and then take your finger and spread that oil around the seal, and that'll just help that seal, that rubber O-ring, make a better connection. All right, so as we're waiting on the final drips of oil to exit the oil pan, we can go ahead and reinstall the new filter. So I'm going to try to do this without spilling it while holding the camera. So you just simply line that back up and twist that on there. And I like to do hand tight. I don't like to use the wrench to put that on there any tighter than it has to be, because when you do that, it just makes taking it off the next time even harder. So there we go. That's all you have to do with that. Once the oil stops dripping from there, we can reinstall the drain plug, and that's it for underneath. All right, so as that oil slowly stops dripping, we're going to take the drain plug and our rag and just wipe that off, get it nice and clean, especially get the outside of the bolt free from as much oil as possible so that the wrench doesn't slip. And then what I like to do is also just clean this outside off. Still dripping a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and reinstall this now. Alright. Now I believe if you look this up, it's 10 to 15 foot-pounds of torque. But I'm just going to do it hand tight and then clean it off, and we are done under here. Alright guys, so now it's time to put the oil back into the truck. We're going to put 7 quarts right in there, and ideally if you want to make this less of a headache, you'll have the right type of funnel, which I forgot to get, and I do not have. This type, for at least my truck, is too shallow, so you can see if I put that in there, it's at a weird angle, and putting the oil in there is just going to be a pain. You're going to have to hold this up. So what you really want to do is get a filter, or shoot, a funnel that's longer like this, but this one isn't as great either because it's too tiny and it doesn't bend. So they make larger filters, if I could stop saying filters, larger funnels like this one that are longer, that also bend and get in a better angle. For today's purposes, just because I don't have one, I'm going to use this. But yeah, you can save yourself a headache by getting the right funnel, not filter. All right, so we're going to start with the 5-quart jug here. Again, if you don't have the right type or shape of funnel, this larger jug may be more difficult to maneuver. So you could do the 1-quart jugs, 1 quart at a time. Just make life easier on you, whatever you want to do. We're going to try to do this with the 5 jug. And you want to keep an eye on the top as well as down at the bottom where the funnel goes in. You don't want to be pouring this in too fast and overflow your oil everywhere and make a big mess. So go slow, do it right. Also, while I'm doing this, if you use the technique I did earlier by storing your funnels in that 5-gallon bucket or wherever you keep your funnels, if they're anything like my shop, they're going to be dirty, they're going to be dusty, you're going to have junk and cobwebs and bugs and stuff. So before you do this, make sure that you clean your funnels out, because you don't want to be getting dirt and grime and other junk down into your engine. Alright, so almost done with the first 5 quarts. Alright, so there's 5, we just have 2 to go. Another tip, save these containers when it's time to recycle your oil. If you have one of those pans, it makes it easy to pour into these, then you can take these into the shop to recycle. So again, what I'm doing is I put the first 5-quart jug in there, and I need a total of 7. So instead of trying to use the second 5-quart jug and pour a little bit and look and measure and pour a little bit and look and measure, which is super annoying and time consuming, I'm going to do the first 5, and then I'm going to do 2 singles like this, which will just make everything a whole lot easier. And these are also easier to handle as far as getting into tight spaces. So there's 6 quarts. We just got to do 1 more, and we'll be done. All right, now for the last quart. Easy enough. Now we're going to put this funnel back up for it to drain. Put our cap back on. Do not forget to do that. And I'll be right back. All right, so now that we've got all of our oil where it needs to go and we've got the cap back on, our final step is to use the dipstick here to make sure that our oil levels are where they need to be. Now, what I like to do is before we check that is start the vehicle and let it run for about 1 to 2 minutes. And what that's going to do, that's going to let that oil circulate and especially get through the new oil filter, and then we can properly check the levels after that. Alright, so once you get the truck started, let that run for 1 to 2 minutes, and now while you're waiting on that to do that is a good time to reset your oil percentage indicator. So I'm going to show you how to do that. If you're on the fuel economy or whatever setting you like to keep it on, you're just going to hit left until you go to the main menu there, and then we're going to go down to settings, hit right, vehicle, hit right, and then oil life reset. And then we're going to hit right again, and we're going to set that to 100 because it is completely changed. Hit OK. And then if we go out to information, system check, we now have oil life 100%. And by the time it takes you to do that, you can probably go ahead and shut the truck off. And let's go check. Right now is also a good time to document that you changed the oil. I keep all that information in my phone, but it's also a good idea to keep it either in your owner's manual or some kind of record in the glove box in the truck. So whenever the day comes that you decide to trade in or sell this truck, there's not going to be a maintenance history at a garage or a shop because you're doing it yourself. So what I recommend is to keep that information documented in your truck, date, what you did, even receipts of the filter and the oil. That way it proves that the work has been done and the truck has been maintained as it should be. All right, so in order to check our levels, we just need to take this dipstick out and we're going to wipe it down with a rag. Then we're going to reinsert it and make sure the oil level is where it's supposed to be. All right, so like I said, just take the dipstick out, use a rag, wipe off the tip, make sure you get all the oil off that tip. We're going to reinsert it, bring it back out, check the levels. All right, so that's pretty much it. You just want to make sure your indicator on your dipstick, the oil level is in that safe zone. A lot of them will have a little indication of if you need to add more or if you've overfilled it. But typically there's a little sweet spot right in the middle of the dipstick. You just want to make sure that the oil is at that level, and if so, you're good to go. Just replace this, shut the hood, and you're good. And lastly, as far as cleanup's concerned, just let this sit for a little while. Give that oil a time to drain all the way down in there. That way you're making as little as mess as possible. And then, like I said, when this is full, you can take it in to get recycled. Hey guys, one last pro tip with the whole oil change thing. Now, as I said earlier in the video, my truck takes 7 quarts of oil. What it actually takes to read properly is about 7.5 quarts. So if you go by whatever's listed for your vehicle and you keep checking the dipstick and it doesn't quite get to that marker on the dipstick where it should be, you may need to add just a little bit more oil to your vehicle to achieve that level. Now, I would do a little bit of homework, a little bit of research online so that you don't overfill. But another tip, once you are done with the exact amount or even just a little bit more, I would highly recommend that not only start the vehicle and let it run for a little bit, but go drive around for a little bit, a few miles, a few minutes. Make sure your oil pressure gauge is reading properly. It's not dead, it's not over too high. And then once you drive around for a little bit, come home or stop in the parking lot, get underneath your vehicle again, and make sure that there's no oil leaking from the drain plug or the filter, and then recheck the dipstick. And I guarantee you, once that oil has a good time to circulate throughout your system, that it's probably going to give you a better reading, and you're probably going to be right in that sweet spot where you should be. All right guys, well there you have it, a very quick and easy way to change the oil in your own vehicle. It's going to save you quite a bit of money. I'll link what I spent down below as far as the oil and the filter, and I'll even put the wrench down there. But if it's something that you just want to do or save some money, I would highly recommend doing this on your own vehicle if you're comfortable doing this type of work, because in the long run, it's going to save you quite a bit of money. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you in the next video.